So let's compare the newer iPhone 16e with the older iPhone 14. And let's start off with the pricing. iPhone 16e is $600 brand new. iPhone 14 is discontinued by Apple, but when it was launched, it was around the $800 device. The iPhone 16e can also be found for, I've seen it on prepaid as low as $300. The iPhone 14 could be found used in great condition for around $350 to $400. So you can get both of these devices for really, really cheap instead of plunking down $1,000 or $800 for a newer iPhone. But let's go ahead and talk about the physical device itself. And from the front, these are very similar. The iPhone 16e is basically an iPhone 14 clone on the front. On the back, you got that camera, the single camera, which reminds me of the iPhone XR, another budget device from back in the day. And the iPhone 14 has that extra ultra-wide camera on the back. On the bottom, you have different charging ports, the USB Type-C on the 16e, and you got Lightning on the 14. That was the last iPhone to have Lightning. But those are the physical differences, but on the front, they both have that notch at the top, so they look exactly the same from the front. I'll get more into these in a little bit, but they use the same exact body, the same size. The iPhone 16e weighs just a little bit less. Both have great build quality, glass front, glass back, aluminum frame. Both of these are eSIM only. They don't have the physical SIM card slots. Both are IP68, thus some water resistance, so that means you can dunk them in water for 6 meters for 30 minutes, so same thing there. Again, we're coming back to the display. Both of these have the notch at the top, 6.1-inch display, exactly the same. You don't have the ProMotion found on iPhone Pros that was introduced in the iPhone 13 Pro. So both of these have an old school, really, really slow refresh rate compared to the newer expensive iPhones. So that's very in line with each other. These are very similar from the physical standpoint. Software-wise, we have iOS 18 on both. You're going to get 7 years of updates on the 16e, while the iPhone 14 will get 2 years less of updates. But for the foreseeable future, for the next 4 years, both of these will have the same software updates. Chipset A18 on the 16e, A15 Bionic on the iPhone 14. Both are super good, super capable of doing all your normal phone activities, YouTube, texting, FaceTime, watching YouTube, watching Netflix, playing games, social media, email, maps, all that stuff will run perfectly fine on both of these devices. You just basically have future-proofing devices with the A18. That's the same as the 16 Pro. So in the future, that's when the newer chip will help the phone out in performance. Both of these have 128 gigs of storage. The 8 gigs of RAM in the iPhone 16e, but you only get 6 gigs of RAM on the 14. So that's another future-proof thing on the iPhone 16e, and that also allows it to run Apple Intelligence, which I think is a gimmick. And moving on to the cameras. Now that's another thing that will define the iPhone 16e. A single 48 megapixel camera, which does a great job. But if you need ultra wide shots, that's the iPhone 14's advantage in the camera system. Both shoot in 4K, both have 4K selfie cameras, and in general, they are great camera systems, except that extra ultra wide camera. It'll serve you, like, for example, if you're a realtor, you want to take a picture of a room or something and you want to capture the whole scene. So yeah, that's an advantage on the iPhone 14 for sure, and it makes the iPhone 14 actually look more modern, more capable if you look at the devices from the back. And both of these have Bluetooth 5.3 and charging, like I mentioned earlier, USB Type-C versus Lightning, and obviously USB-C is the newer standard. You could use the same cable to charge all your devices, and the 14 is the last iPhone to have the Lightning charger. So in the future, the 16e is more capable. It's going to fit easier into your life. And the front both have Face ID to unlock your device, and this is where these phones are defined again. The iPhone 16e has the exact same look and feel of the iPhone 14 from the front, and it's pretty much, that's how it's defined. Apple's using the same body of the 14 and shoving it into the 16e. Battery life is really, really good on both of these devices, but better on the 16e. 26 hours of battery life for video playback. Apple claims it is the most battery life of any 6.1-inch iPhone. You don't have MagSafe on the 16e, but you do have it on the 14. So more charging options and accessories on the iPhone 14. For my final verdict, I think these devices are so similar in price, similar in capabilities, but the major differences are the extra camera on the iPhone 14, the charging on the bottom with USB-C versus Lightning, and the internals of the iPhone 16e are just more modern, faster. It'll prove to be the iPhone that'll work better in the future, the iPhone 16e, with having the same processor and same RAM as the 16 Pro. So this is very much pointed towards a future type of device. And the battery life is just awesome. But in 2025, both of these are so similar. You can't go wrong with either of these. They will be compared heavily in the next year or two. Yeah, that's been my comparison of the iPhone 16e and the iPhone 14.